me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shouting loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Informed Class. Good morning, Mr. Jenkins. How are
Good
you?
morning, sir. How are you?
Hey,
How's life in the big city?
life. I told you, man. I live in Bloomfield, New Jersey.
I know.
How you
I don't
doing?
know where I got that from. I actually got that from a friend of mine. You know, he used to live like down in the woods, and he would always say, "How's life in the big city?" And I would respond, "What you left is still here." I remember that. He lived down in the boondocks with the horses. He had horses and everything. You know, I'm like, he said, "How's the big city?" I said, "Same where you left it."
Well, I want to welcome everybody to the show. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today, man.
Hey, man, I'm ready to rock and roll today.
So where do you want to start? I mean, I got some things on the plate, but
listen, I wanted to tell you first of all that I stayed up until 1:30, which is not normal for me, and I watched the Hernandez, the football player, documentary.
Yes.
Listen, that guy was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, a great athlete. I mean, probably was a very decent person, but he had some real serious issues. I mean, some real serious issues. I mean, if no one knew that he had mental issues early on in his career, they talked about the fact that he had some he was engaged in some crazy stuff, but not that bad. But came from a pretty decent family. His father was, an athlete. His brother was a top athlete at UConn.
Mm-hmm.
There was some abuse in the family. It was just a little weird. So as I kept watching it, I thought I would feel sorry for him. I mean, outside of him having to kill himself, I felt bad about that. Outside of him, not being able to manage his emotions and how he lived this fake life about, him being, he was living in an alternate universe. But make a long story short, I watched it, and I got to tell you, just because, I want everybody to know, just because, they're good athletes and they can run with the ball, it doesn't mean that they're healthy people. And these people are not healthy. And these leagues should have really forced that guy to go and get some, or maybe he cloaked it so well, or maybe they really are not concerned, but they should have sent that kid to get some help a long time ago.
Well, you know what, Kev, they're in denial.
It was sad.
Right?
It was sad in the sense, and then his mental state. Like,
Well,
if you heard his conversation, he was like he had a mind of a child.
Well, they're in denial, right? So, and it's not just him. I mean, look at Antonio Brown, who's now got a warrant again for his arrest. Let's talk about. There are countless athletes. A lot of them never make the newspaper, never make it to the national spotlight. What Hernandez did was tragic, right? I mean, at the end of the day, 3 murders I think he was responsible for.
Yeah.
So he made it to the national spotlight. But look at Junior Seau, committed suicide. Look at the Webster, the former center from the Pittsburgh Steelers, committed suicide. They talked about CTE, which is a result of brain injury, and they talked about how Hernandez may have, through concussions that he had early on when he was, in high school or even before, may have suffered severe brain damage to create this. And now that's not to excuse the murders and all of the things that he did, but when you look at the science, and there was a movie that came out and Will Smith played the doctor, right? So when this billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar industry looks and sees that it is a sport based on violence, let's get that straight, violence, no matter what they say, and you see the impact that it has on the brain. You see these folks committing suicide. You see all of this other abusive behavior. I mean, the number of domestic violence cases in the NFL, Kevin, are ridiculous. What about the guy, the running back Rice, who punched his wife and knocked her out cold, and they happened to catch it on the camera of the elevator, and then he dragged her out like she was a paper bag. I mean, all of these, and so the NFL sees this. Now, they have crisis managers and such there in the NFL, but there is a bigger crisis. There's a health issue that they're not addressing because they are a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so these players are a commodity to their wealth. And that's it.
Yeah, that's true. I got to tell you, he had the intellect of a 2-year-old, 3-year-old. And then his girlfriend, his wife, she was no better. What they were talking about in their discussion over the phone while he was in prison, she tried to sound like she was, she had some sense, but I was like, wow. It was like, you got to watch it, Eric. It's very interesting.
Well, I saw it. That's what I'm saying. I saw it. It goes beyond interest. It was disturbing.
Yeah.
It gives you.
You're right. It was disturbing.
It gives you an insight as to what's going on. And again, it begs the question: why aren't people having a broader conversation about it?
Well, remember, they've gone to trial. Remember, the NFL has come back on a number of occasions and, tried to deal with the issue in a way that I didn't think it covered all of the athletes correctly. I thought they managed it incorrectly from the beginning. But, I just wanted to say I watched it last night, and I was stunned. Look, I saw the document, not the documentary. I didn't see the movie, but I saw the special that 60 Minutes had done on it years ago, CTE. And I was quite aware of it. And his brain obviously was affected by football. And it had an impact on his ability to emotionally manage himself, obviously. But I got to tell you, it was very.
Well, look again. I'm not making it. He was a murderer, right? He was a murderer, And he needed, and look, so he was not so out of it, Kevin, that he didn't try to manipulate the system. If you remember at the end of the documentary, when his case was up for appeal, his idea was that he was going to commit suicide so that his case would be thrown out, so that he would not be a convicted murderer, and that the NFL would have to give him the balance of his contract. So he was trying to take care of his wife and his kid. So he was still manipulative all the way to the end. They had to change they had to change the ruling. They had to change the law to say that that loophole that was there, they closed it, and so he's still considered a murderer, right? And the NFL won't have to pay that money. So all the way to the end, Keith Hernandez was a master manipulator.
Absolutely. I'm just
But
qualified.
CTE is real. And look, and I said this, I reported on this maybe 2 years ago on the show. I don't understand how any parent, I yanked my son from playing Pop Warner football because of the number of injuries, man. I mean, listen, a 5-mile-an-hour impact to the head could cause death. Well,
Eric, I played football from the time I was 9 years old.
I did too. Maybe that's what's wrong with me. I don't know.
That's what's wrong with me. That's what you're saying. That's what's wrong with me.
Me too. Me too. Hashtag me too. Yeah. But we didn't.
It's not funny, but Eric, I played football. I played every sport. Listen, I broke my chin running into first base. I broke my shoulder running the 800 meters. I mean, it's just I get what you're saying because it's a physical torment. I mean, when you break your shoulder.
But we didn't have the information that we have now, Kevin.
Yeah,
and that's the difference. I mean, go all the way back to football when they were using leather helmets.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So
yeah.
We didn't have the information we have now. Now we have a tremendous amount of information, and parents and guardians ought to heed that information. Your child's brain is not worth it. Now I know in a lot of inner cities where folks are looking at the talent of their child and trying to guesstimate whether or not they're going to cut through all of the high statistics and everything and make it pro. And so they roll the dice and they risk their lives. But the percentage of kids that actually make it to college on football is so minuscule that to risk their health and safety, it just is not worth it.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, equipment has gotten better.
Now,
I think hopefully, well, the equipment has gotten better.
It has gotten, but look, it apparently has not helped. I mean, look at Tony Dorsett. They don't even show Tony.
I'm saying something different. Since CTE and since the big case with the NFL, they have done, even at the lower levels of football, they have done a good job trying to reconfigure the helmet to stop the impact of the brain moving so much when you're impacting playing football. So they are trying to do that. But I'm saying it's still a dangerous
But they're not
sport.
really trying. But see, I want to be clear on that. They're not really trying to do that. What they're trying to do is preserve their.
Wait a minute, Eric. Have you seen a goddamn helmet, Eric? I've seen a helmet.
I have
the
seen
new
it.
helmets.
But what they're trying to do is preserve the NFL. Look, they're trying to preserve
that's a different issue. That's a different issue, Eric. I get that. What I'm saying to you is I think the players themselves have been pushing the league to really change or look at what the equipment is, the helmet
But
is.
Kevin,
If you
but
at the
here,
helmet,
look,
they're
but
really, I
but
gotta
let's
tell you,
have
if
the
you want to
honest.
play football, let me ask you a question. If you play football,
Right.
do you want to play football with the old helmet? If you're going to be paid $40 million and your brain is bummed out after you finish playing, do you think you want to play with the old helmet or the new helmets they have now?
No.
No.
Listen, no doubt you want to play
that's what I'm
with
saying.
a better helmet. But here's the question. So I'm going to put it to you like this. Would you rather drink out of Newark's water? No level is safe. What I'm suggesting is there's no level that's safe. And the NFL should be saying that. But instead, what they're doing is they're selling this false hope, this false security that they're doing this work and that somehow you're going to be safe. They should be now. Now, I know on the back of the helmet, read the back of the helmet. The back of the helmet states very clearly the danger of head impacts, right?
Eric, if you're an athlete, if you're making $200 million a year, $100 million a year.
No.
And you know, wait a minute, let me finish my point. Listen, if you're making $100 million a year, $40 million a year,
right,
okay, and you're playing football, and you know that after the end of your career, because you know football, NFL is not for long, and you're an athlete, and you have an athlete, you have a union that represents you, you have the best doctors in the world available to you, wouldn't you think, outside of the league, wouldn't you think that those athletes will play a much more effective role in protecting themselves by making sure the equipment that they have is effective? Or are you saying they're not responsible for that either?
Kevin, listen to what I'm saying to you. Let's move the NFL to the side for a second.
Okay, yeah, I just did that.
No.
I just did that. I moved them to the side.
Okay,
I'm playing sports. I don't want to do anything that's going to impact my quality of life when I get older.
Right.
So are you saying that the athletes really just don't care? I mean,
right. So what I'm saying is this. Let's take the NFL for a second off the table. Let's look at the number of Pee Wee and Pop Warner leagues around the country. Let's look at the number of high school teams across the country. Let's look at all of those. So you're talking about if you make it to the NFL. I'm saying that is such a minuscule number that makes it. But what do the graveyards of wrecked brains look like from Pop Warner all the way up through high school? Who's taking care of them? And so while you're dating, let me finish my thought. But I just want to finish my thought.
I think parents need to be in control of their kids' athletic, whatever they're doing athletically. My parents were. If I would have came back with a headache, my mother would have taken me to check out my brain, to check out my head. My parents was in control of everything I did athletically. They were in control. So now, if you hear this about CTE and you see the impact of it, I think it is up to those leagues to explain to people what's going on. But I think those parents need to be responsible.
But what I'm saying to you is this, Kevin. Much like the tobacco industry, right, did not divulge the true nature of cigarettes and its harm.
Well,
right?
Guess what? In this case,
I just want to finish the thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, all right. But in this case, it's been people. Everybody knows about CTE at this point.
No, they don't. That's not
everybody
true.
in football knows about the CTE, the impact of CTE.
Kevin, but you
What
were just
saying that nobody's talking about CTE on no team in America?
No, that's not what
high school in America.
That's not what
so what are you saying?
I'm trying to finish my thought.
All right, go ahead, then, because go ahead. Go
right.
ahead.
So I'm not saying that people are not talking about it, but what I am saying is that the NFL is muddying the conversation by somehow convincing people that they're safer. You even said it yourself. You said, "Hey, Eric, they're making the helmets safe." I'm saying, let me finish my thought.
Yeah, but you're gonna go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Right. So what I'm
ahead.
saying to you is this: that even you made the comment. Right, so you put an asterisk at the end of it. There is no asterisk. There is no safe level of head impact. It creates trauma, and that's all they should be saying.
You're misinterpreting what I'm saying. I said. Now you got a great skill at that. You got a great skill at that. You got a great skill. Listen, I said to you that they have been doing some real work, right, on the helmets that are being used in the NFL. As a matter of fact, they've been doing some real work on all of the equipment. Now, I'm not saying they're trying to stop as much the impact, the real force of it. They're trying to stop the brain from moving. Are you all right? Oh, sorry.
No, I'm laughing at Diane. She's on air.
I know. Come on. You eat your sandwich 1 minute.
I didn't know you were screaming. Look, I'll tell you, when it comes to that stuff, they have made so many different...
Turn off your computer. Something's on.
Oh, I'm sorry. They have made so many different changes. Okay, is it better now?
Yep.
No.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead. I got you. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Told you, that slow bus for Kevin right there.
It's football. It's football.
Hey, leave me alone.
They have done a lot to make changes, especially on the lower levels where kids start now on Pop Warner's side, on teaching them how not to do head-on-head contact.
Thank you, Diane.
However, because you got older players that are now in the professional, they have to also be retrained as well because they learned head on head when they were younger. So it's kind of like untraining them, but it is horrific.
But you make a good point, though, Diane. And Eric, I understand your point, but Diane, you make a good point. Because in the league now, if you do any head-on-head activity, you got a problem.
Look, I got a remedy for the NFL, though. I have an absolute remedy for the NFL.
Eliminate it.
No. I don't think you need to eliminate it. Now, my two daughters play rugby. Well, one of them still plays. She plays semi-pro rugby. And what I learned about rugby, and there are fewer injuries in rugby. You would think that there are more injuries, but there are fewer injuries because the players are not padded up. Right? So when you have that much padding on, you can make yourself a projectile, right? To injure other people, right? So before they started teaching, think about Ronnie Lott when he played for the 49ers, right? Ronnie Lott and go back to Jack Tatum and the rest of those players. They were big hit players, right? Their whole game was to knock a wide receiver or a tight end or a running back out. And they would literally launch themselves head first in order to do so. And they felt comfortable doing it because they had head protection, or so they thought. What I'm suggesting are two things for the NFL. One is eliminate the helmet. Now, if you eliminate the helmet, then you're going to, as a tackler, be more careful about how you tackle because you're concerned about injuring yourself. Secondly, what I love about rugby is they don't have forward laterals, right? Meaning that the player's not running toward you. If you notice in rugby, it's backwards passing, which allows for space before the contact. And so when you have a wide receiver that's running...
I'm black. First of all, I'm black and I don't play rugby.
Yeah,
I don't even know how it works or what.
Wait a minute, he wants to redesign the whole damn game.
Well, wait.
Boy, Bob. Yeah, that's right. Boy, Bob. Man, rugby up onto the next thing.
Listen, I want to save lives. And I think that that's the way to save lives.
From the helmet to rugby and how you do the thing like this. I mean, come on, folks. Look, I just said one thing. Look, I just said one thing to Eric.
Football or soccer.
Listen, rugby and soccer are way more popular. I mean, they don't make as much money, but worldwide, they're more popular than American football.
But is it a dangerous sport, though? It is a dangerous sport. It is a dangerous sport. I get that. And I do believe we need to protect our children more. I do get that also. And I do believe that, athletes need to take more control over their football experience because they are the market. If it wasn't for them, it wouldn't be an NFL.
They can't take over nothing. They're the slaves to their commodity. Boy,
yeah, right. They're the slaves to their commodity. You're right, Diane. But, listen, I just think that...
Get them out the hood. Because they don't think their brains are smart enough for them to be doctors and lawyers and engineers. Boy, bro.
Wait a minute, though. Diane, some of them are. You have some football, young football players in the league that are scientists. Wait
a minute. What about the guy Sherman who plays for the 49ers now? Right? He used to be with the Seattle Seahawks. I think he graduated from Harvard.
Yeah, well, I mean, graduating from Harvard doesn't make you smart. A lot.
No, but he's brilliant. He's got an extraordinary IQ, and he's brilliant.
I got a lot of people in my life that graduated from Harvard. I wouldn't trust it with anything.
Well, that's true.
No, Eric, but that was Keith Hernandez. Everybody should watch that series on him on Netflix. It's very interesting, Diane. It's very interesting.
I've seen a couple of them done before, even on HBO Sports. Brian Gumble has covered a whole series of it as well. Yeah. So it's very disturbing. In fact, one of the housewives, and I can't remember which housewife, on one of the shows, husband suffers from CTE, I think it is.
Wow.
He's young. He's literally must be maybe 33, 32.
Yeah. Right, that goes to Eric's point about playing the sport when you're very young.
Yeah.
And without the rules that they have now. And it was the Wild Wild West when I was playing football.
So then my question to you is, what do we encourage our younger kids to do instead of being violent,
golf,
swimming,
aggressive, chess,
golf? I say golf and rowing because let me tell you, they get money for rowing.
Yes. Yeah, no, bowling. Listen, there are tons of, if you want to send your kid to college and you want them to go for free, there's a lot of money for golf. There's a lot of money in swimming. There's a lot of money in bowling. There's a lot of money in all those other sports. right? Again,
volleyball.
Yes, you know what? 100% true. My niece, Villanova, volleyball. So
listen, guys. At the end of the day,
look, my daughter pole vaulted.
I think
at the end of the day, people need to know about options. They
need to know about your kid. Right.
Can I ask you a question? Are we actually? Listen, let me just say this to you. I think other people know of other sports.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
The sports are not available in their town. They don't know.
That's absolutely right.
You know what, though? I am so sick and proud of you black people that's always telling me that people don't know. They might not know about rowing, maybe. They might not know about rugby,
they don't
maybe.
Even have volleyball in public schools as a team.
But that's what don't have it. I'm saying it. That's not to say they don't know, Diane.
I'm not meaning not know.
Oh.
It's not available to them. It's not available to them. For instance, if you're at South Orange, Maplewood in New Jersey, they have archery. The young Muslim sister came out of their archery program and went to the Olympics.
No, not archery. She was in fencing. Fencing, yes.
Fencing. But those are not sports that are typically in regular public schools. If you
why is that?
Because you got closed-minded people that are running the schools, and they still have baseball, softball, football, and track. That's it.
I played
all the public high schools.
Well, I don't know who these parents are because I played every sport.
Right, but what school did you go to, Kevin? But Kevin, you went to St. Benedict.
You got everybody. There's some sad people out there.
So
you don't know what anything is. You mean to tell me they don't know anything, Diane?
So what I'm saying is, Kevin, if your YMCA in Newark is not offering something outside,
they don't have a YMCA anymore.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
But they got a world-class swimming pool, but we don't have any. We have a world-class swimming pool, but we don't have any swimmers.
Exactly.
That's the point. That's the point that we're making. They're not recruiting for those things. They're not recruiting for those things. They're recruiting for basketball. They're recruiting for football. Right? Go down to Weequahic Park and look how amazing that golf course is. That golf course is amazing.
I'm playing on it.
You go on Saturday mornings past there, you maybe see 30 kids.
Right.
And those kids are not coming.
Well, let me just back you up for a second on the golf. Can I back you both up on the golf? They have a very successful golf program for kids in Weequahic Park. So let me just tell you that they've been doing that for years. I forgot the gentleman's name.
Wadu.
I played golf. Yeah, I played golf in that place for 100 times.
Doug Freeman, Wadu, they're doing an amazing job over there. But what I'm saying to you is this. So you have an individual like Wadu who recognized it and is exposing kids to it, right? But it should be a bigger effort. There should be a bigger effort citywide, countywide, to expose these kids to things other than football and baseball and basketball. There's a lot out there.
You said Essex County. I dare say that there are some schools in Essex County and Milburn and Essex County and other places that probably have all of those programs.
No, I'm talking about in urban. No, I'm saying in urban settings, Kev. I'm saying in.
Wait a minute, though. Listen. Wait a minute, though. I mean, I get what you're saying about them not having access to every sport, right? But I'm just saying to you, you said Greater Essex County, you said Essex County. I dare say that in Milburn and some of those other schools, they have those programs. That's all.
What's the demographics and what's the percentage of us in Milburn, Kevin?
But you said Essex County.
Answer the question.
It might be none. We might not even exist.
Get him,
Diane. We might not even exist in Milburn. So now you're saying to me because
our people.
So wait a minute, so you're saying our people. It just goes back to my point. So it goes back to my point. So you're saying our people are not interested in but the three sports: baseball, basketball.
No, not that they're not interested in it. They're not exposed to other things.
They're not
Kevin.
exposed to it.
It's not available. Right. It's not available to them. I mean, I want to be around.
Hey, Eric, I don't want to be around you people anymore.
Think about it, Kevin. When our kids went to St. Philip's Academy, they went to swimming every week. Several times a week, they were at the pool.
My daughter went there. She went to tennis.
They went there. At her school, they brought a karate specialist, martial arts guy in, and they had that available to them.
Correct.
So they didn't do just simple gym or just volleyball. They had exposure to other stuff.
I think the parents of today are just trifling. I mean, my parents were young parents. I mean, swimming, baseball, basketball, track, all all of those things, I mean, whatever I wanted to get involved in. And guess what? Let me tell you how I got involved in all those sports. I got involved in all those sports because where I lived at, in my neighborhood, it was very athletic driven. So in my neighborhood, you had to play a sport. You had to be involved in something athletic. Now, these are young parents, mothers. Excuse me?
Did the parents take you down here to get you signed up, or you said, "Oh, I want to do this"?
My parents took me to get me signed up. Yes, my parents.
So the difference between you and me, I wanted to do sports, and I did a lot of sports. My parents didn't sign me up for anything. I was signing myself up for stuff and bring it back on for I was doing softball.
Look, I was a top track star in this state, right? You know how I started running track? You want to know? You want to laugh? At night.
I came to the town.
Oh, no, I didn't live in the neighborhood. Like, I dare you. I dare you. Clear it down. But we used to be up late at night, and our uncles, who were basketball and track stars with all of the top universities, they used to make us run against each other.
Right.
So at 9 years old, we used to run. You know, I don't know if you remember that.
On your mark, get set.
Yeah, on your mark. There you go.
Yes, on your mark.
Hey, Kev, wait a minute.
Hey, Kev. Big head running up and down Lincoln Street.
Hey, Kev, you know what's crazy about that? And if you were fast, it was like the Wild Wild West, right? Everybody knew who you were, and they would bring other people to race you. Be like, I'm gonna go get Kev. All right,
Eric, that is so true, Eric.
Yes.
I'm telling you, we had a big look. The neighborhood I grew up in was the best neighborhood on earth. I mean, we all got along. We all played sports. If you couldn't play sports in my neighborhood, you were almost like pushed to the side. So everybody did something well. Everybody did something well. If it was football, if it was baseball, if it was track, if it was fastball, it was ever. But that's how I started running track. That's exactly how I started running track. Yeah. That's the truth. Oh, God, that was funny.
It all boils down to availability.
Yeah. So again, I know, we did a lot of laughing and joking, and we talked about a bunch of things, but please, don't leave your child's brain in the hands of other people, right? Make sure you're advocating for your own child. If you have them playing football, head-on-head collisions are horrible, and it's an injury that you won't see immediately, right? So it is over a period of time that this CTE develops, and so please be careful. I know a lot of parents, and guardians, they see a promise in their child, and they see that as a way of them getting out of dire economic circumstances, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Hey, listen, I got to say one thing before we close on this.
Yeah.
Every parent that's listening, every grandmother that's listening, there's two essentials to life. Reading, the other essential for me is arts. I grew up in the arts also. My mother and father got me involved in the arts very, very early in my life. So I was very comprehensive growing up. I understood arts, I understood literature, I understood music. I mean, you gotta help develop these children to understand this stuff, I was even thinking today, Eric, as we move on, that my first meditation I did was in the classroom at Queen of Angels.
Huh. Wow.
What? Was sitting in the corner?
No. No. Go ahead, Eric. Move on, Eric.
Oh.
Go ahead. Diane's a mess.
I meditated in the corner many times.
Diane, do you remember the teacher? I don't know, in your school, when I was at Maple, the dunce hat was in full effect. They would put a dunce hat on you.
What?
Yes.
It was a coat. No, now, I had a teacher, my second grade teacher, Mr. Conan, used to wear these big heeled boots, when I was in its style back in the 70s with bell bottom.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He would stick my bubble gum on my nose because I wasn't supposed to have gum in class.
That's absolutely right.
When it wouldn't stay there, I kept saying, but it won't stay. It won't stay. He said, well, put it on your forehead then. And it would stick.
Yeah.
Well, I just got to tell you, I thought growing up I had a wonderful experience growing up. I had a really good experience. I got to tell you, I did. I mean, arts, music, culturally, I mean, I was given a lot. And given a lot in a neighborhood where they said you didn't get a lot from, which was a lie. I didn't understand that. I don't understand I don't know what projects they're talking about. Maybe that was like before they closed. because I grew up in a neighborhood in a community of people that were focused on education, focused on, protecting their children. So I don't know what those people.
Well, you got to remember, you grew up in a neighborhood where everybody was close-knit and they watched out for each other. That's not what the neighborhoods look like now. People are turning a blind eye, like I said. They pulling down the shades and they looking away.
Yeah. Anyway, that was good, guys. That brought back memories.
So
I should be called Big Head Kev.
That's what they called you. Your head been the same size since you was a kid, wasn't it?
Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead, Eric. That was fun.
So,
God.
Sweeney and former governor, what was his name? Cody.
You mean Sweeney and Cody?
Are fighting. They're feuding again. Does it ever end?
Sweeney now is the Speaker of the House, and Cody is the former governor and former Speaker of the House. And Sweeney dethroned Cody, and there's been an ongoing battle between them forever.
Right.
And I thought the article was a bullcrap article. It was talking about Sweeney taking somebody from a committee, which has happened not just under his tenure, but many other governors' tenure. So, all of a sudden, I don't think Sweeney should have done that. I think that guy had the right to vote one way or the other, and he is a committee chair. But when you take those committee chairs and you sign on to the team, those are the rules that the Speaker set.
There you go. You know what? And anybody who read that article, Kevin, should look at it exactly how you said it. They're on a team. They're not on our team. They're on a team. They're on their own team, and they set their rules, and those rules have nothing to do with us. So what happened?
You're right.
Go ahead.
No, you're right.
Yeah, has nothing to do with us. And so that whole argument around the vaccination shots, whether or not they should table that vote or move forward with it. We talked about Assemblyman Holly and his position on it, standing with the people. The idea that you now had a person who said, you know what, I'm going to speak my own thoughts. What did Sweeney say? He said, no, you don't speak your own thoughts when you're on this team. See,
listen, I got to tell you, I just thought the article was a way to sell papers. I thought it was, for me being an insider, I thought it was a bunch of crap because I've seen both people do things, both Cody and Sweeney do things that I might not have liked. But you're on their team, so you're on Sweeney's team. Sweeney said, if you didn't follow my lead, you got to go. I'm taking your chairmanship from you.
But here's the other piece of this, and this is why. In the conversation I was having yesterday about the commingling of money, right, with the Democratic Party. So now this guy who was removed from the team, he benefited from the team when he was on the line. He benefited from the team when they raised money for him. He benefited from the team in all those respects, and now he wants to cry foul. You can't do both. You can't serve both. Agree. You see, if you took the money, you knew what the rules of engagement were. You can't change the rules midway through. Either you're on the team or you're off the team. You can't split it. See, and what I'm suggesting is that, folks, I don't want to support anybody who's not on team people. You see, if you're anti-people, especially anti-black, in the way that you vote, in the way that you govern, in the way that you live your life, then I am not with you. And so this guy, right, he demonstrated through the way that he practices politics that he was with them. So don't cry now.
Listen, I actually agree. You know what, though? He's a lazy politician. Because he took the gifts. Now he's whining. Now he's probably going to have a difficult time raising money.
Yep.
He wasn't independent, and shame on him. God bless him. I'm not whining for that guy. I'm not whining for him at all. And you know what? Sweeney had the right to say, "Listen, you're not on my team anymore."
Yeah. But
for Cody to chime in. Oh, come on, please. Enough of that. I mean, come on. Enough of that.
We're all adding to them.
Yeah, well, guess what? I think Eric's point about team and about, people not being on our team, you see how quick they can make that decision?
Yep.
We don't make that decision. We keep going back and voting for a team that's not with us. We keep going back and supporting people that are not with us. I mean, I just find it interesting. I mean, I think the example from Hillary Clinton yesterday, to today in this article is a great example. When they need to make decisions about their team, they make it. When we have to make decisions, you know when we make decisions? We make decisions about giving their team power over us.
Right.
I mean, that's a great example, Eric. Well done. Eric, we agree on that, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. They kicked them off their island. And we need to start kicking people off of ours. There we
very
go.
Good, Eric. That was very good, Eric. That's good. They kicked him off the island, right, bro?
They kicked his ass right off, Kevin.
Hey, good luck, young man. Good luck.
That's right.
Eric, go west, young man. Go west.
That's right. We need to do the
that
same
article
thing.
was ridiculous, though.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Listen,
Oh, God.
Bloomberg. They say in the polls he's in 4th place now, catching up on Elizabeth Warren. Bloomberg.
He's in 4th place now, yeah. He paid $1 billion to be put up 2 points more.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I got to tell you something, though. I want everybody at home, all of the informed class members, to do me one favor again. This is my second favor I'm asking you today. Don't pay attention to any of these polls.
No.
You know, don't pay attention. Listen, whoever's doing the work, who's ever been in Iowa, whoever's been in New Hampshire, who's ever been doing the work in South Carolina for Super Tuesday, you're going to see how they run. So you're going to see Bernie, you're going to see Biden, and you're going to see someone else, whoever that might be, Warren, or all the rest of them, right? And as it gets closer, then the polls might make a little sense. Polls are not a good gauge, and we have been socially engineered to believe when we turn on that TV and they say 74% of the people said that. You don't know how those polls were conducted. And then they'll say, oh, they were scientific. But guess what? If that was the case, we wouldn't have George Bush Jr. and we wouldn't have Donald Trump.
But here's the thing that they're not
listening.
But here's one of the things that, and I agree with you, Kevin. They're not looking in the tabs, right? We're not understanding the questions that are being asked, and we understand that you can ask certain questions to manipulate, the polls to get the percentages that you want. Having said that, though, they're talking national polls, but we understand that this is not going to be. It's not about national polls. It's about those 5 swing states. And so they're not having they're not even willing to have the honest conversation when they can manipulate polls to say how Bloomberg's doing in Pennsylvania, how he's doing in Michigan, what people in Wisconsin think about him, what people in Iowa think about him. They're not having that.
My question to you, Eric, is what are the swing states and why are they so important? And why should we be focused on the swing states as opposed to any other state?
Well, because you have some states, Diane, that are like New Jersey. It's a blue state, right? So you're not going to have a Republican presidential candidate do well here. So it's not a battleground, right? It's blue. You can look at historic polling numbers or voting numbers and see where it is. When you talk about these other states where you have folks who are not just aligning themselves with a Democratic Party or Republican Party, but they're seeing themselves as individuals who have needs, right? And those needs are or are not being met by the politicians. They're looking and they're raising their voices. And so in those states, and see, this is something for New Jerseyans to understand. Why aren't they talking? See, we should want to be a swing state. We should want to be, because what that means, if you're a swing state, it means that people are vying for you, that you have both parties courting you, right? But we have assigned...
considered a swing state. I mean, realistically, we voted in as many Republicans as governors as we have Democrats.
No. On a national stage, we're not considered a swing state.
Got it. Okay.
Right? On the national stage, we're not considered a swing state, and we should want to be courted by both parties, because at the end of the day, you want to go to the table and negotiate the best deal. But if you've already cut one party out, and so now all you're doing is you say, you know what, we're not even going to listen to the Republicans, then the Democrats say, well, we're your only choice. And so now you're going to take what we give you. But if you opened up and said, you know what, we're willing to listen to everybody. And here's the thing, we talked about this yesterday, right? And we just talked about it in the first segment of the show. We've been sold a bill of goods that somehow we're traitors if we listen to the other side. But what happened in the gubernatorial race, right? They chucked Barbara Buono for Chris Christie. Let's see what Hillary Clinton's doing. She said, hey, look, I got my own interests to be concerned with. You see, so we should be looking like that too. And I'm not just talking about foundational Black America. I'm saying everybody. We should be looking and saying, who's going to give us the best deal? Well, listen, at the end of the day, you know, if New Jersey's not a swing state or whatever, there's one thing that's a reoccurring theme out in America right now. A reoccurring theme. We're not happy. Reoccurring theme. We don't feel the prosperity that everybody else. Oh, can I play that? I got that clip. Okay, the Tucker Carlson clip. Play that clip. Go ahead. So I'm going to play this clip so you understand exactly where people are. Where is it? Here we go. Ready?
Tucker Carlson is not a supporter or a fan of Bernie Sanders. However, he does understand that if Bernie Sanders were to win the Democratic nomination, Donald Trump would be in a lot of trouble. Now, he lays out this argument by focusing on what the reality is for the vast majority of Americans. The economy is actually not doing that well for the majority. Take a look.
Only 31% said the economy was helping them and their families. Just 32% thought the current economy was helping the middle class. 58% thought the opposite. Among lower income Republicans, 47% said economic conditions were hurting them. Just 30% said they were helping. Now keep in mind, these aren't sociology professors from the Oberlin Faculty Lounge. This is the president's core, it's his base. Why do they feel that way? It's not personal, it's just really simple. For a lot of middle class people, wages are not keeping pace with expenses. Childcare, housing, education, healthcare, they're all getting more expensive by the year. The student loan bubble is still inflating. It's burdening young people with debts so large they can't start families. Now, these are economic problems, but they require a political solution. The candidate who makes it easier for 30-year-olds to get married and have kids will win the election and will deserve to win. Remember that. It's truer than any economic theory conceived on any college campus in the last 100 years. Improve people's lives and they will vote for you, period. Republicans ought to write that on their hands. Otherwise, the temptation will be to focus entirely on the lunacy on display on the left right now. Democrats have gone crazy, and it's definitely worth pointing that out repeatedly. We do it 5 nights a week. But it's not enough to win. Winning candidates come with their own program. They convince voters they will make things better.
So I'm sure that stung for Donald Trump, who keeps boasting about how the economy is doing really well under his leadership. But the truth is, it's not doing well. And Bernie Sanders does have a message of economic equality that really does resonate with a lot of voters. And that does put Donald Trump at risk. And Tucker Carlson seems to understand that, even while Democrats keep arguing that Bernie Sanders has an electability problem. Take a look.
Bernie Sanders may get the Democratic nomination, and if he does, every Republican in Washington will spend the next 10 months reminding you that socialism does not work and never has worked. And they'll be right, obviously. But if Sanders pledges to forgive student loans, he will still win many thousands of voters who went for Donald Trump last time. Why? Because debt is crushing an entire generation of Americans.
Now, if Biden wins the nomination instead, the Tucker Carlsons and the Fox News and the Donald Trumps of the world.
So, what we see is what we talked about yesterday in that clip, and Tucker Carlson talked about it, right? That though we're touting these numbers, the job market, the Wall Street numbers, at the end of the day, even within Trump's base, they're not feeling the love. So certainly outside of that base, you have people who are not feeling the the prosperity that is talked about from the Trump campaign and from many people on the right and on the left. Well, I think you're right. I think when they were interviewing people in Iowa this morning, and people were saying, "Listen, we're not paying attention to a lot of the stuff that you think we're paying attention to. We're talking about this plant that's getting ready to close behind me. We're talking about, my salary has been flatlined for the last 10 years. Right. That's what they're really worried about. There's a lot of angst out there, but that's why Trump was elected in the first place. Right. That's why he was elected in the first place. I still say this. I believe that the Democrats don't get it.
I think the Democrats have squandered a lot of time on this impeachment, and we're going to go into that a little bit. I think Adam Schiff did a great job of outlining using his prosecutorial skills to have a bigger discussion, whatever. We could go into that. But people are not happy. They're not happy with it.
People are not happy, but you know what, Kevin? I've talked to a couple of people who are Republicans, and they think, here in New Jersey, and they think that the minimum wage is too high. And they also think that the minimum wage hours, the only people that should be affected by it should be the youth who are in these low-income jobs working at McDonald's and stuff like that and CVS. They say those are jobs for kids. Adults shouldn't be in those jobs. They don't even understand that everybody doesn't have a college degree. Everybody doesn't go to college or pursue higher things. Some people just land in the jobs that they land in. But visual problem, and they still support Trump.
Well, listen, let me get back up with the minimum wage. The minimum wage is the $15 minimum wage.
It's gradual.
It's a joke. It's a joke. It does not resolve the issue. It's a joke. It was the unions playing off, the progressives and the liberals. It's not. That doesn't. If you're talking about $15 an hour, a majority of the people in this country, their salaries have been flatlined. You explain to me what $15 an hour is going to do when you have to have 4 jobs.
Call it go.
I got to tell you, I'm offended by that. And but we know what I'm great. Somebody called in.
I'm sorry. I just want to say that after listening to that clip, I just heard a whole different type of lunacy. Because now you want to believe that there was a very key statement made: economic equality. No one wants economic equality with black folks. So anything that gives that to them, they ain't taking it. See, this is the game that and like you always say, Eric, words matter. If you think that America is going to vote in a man that will give parity for blacks and white, and that's all you have to do is bill it like that, white people will not vote for it. Because their number one interest is to be better than us. So when you replay it, you'll give some type of credence to it. It is not going to happen. And it will not happen because of that very core fact. There will never be equality accepted by white people with blacks. We are lower than them. And nothing that makes us equal makes them happy. Because if there was, check this. Just like you had the billionaire, forget what was it, Morehouse or Spelman's, said they were going to pay all of the tuition for a year. You'd have some white billionaires saying that they were going to do it for Caucasian universities, right? Nothing, okay, that allows blacks and whites to be on the same level is going to be voted in by white people.
So, Farrakhan, what you're saying is, Farrakhan, are you suggesting, and I'm being cynical here, are you suggesting that what Bernie Sanders and other people are recommending, that majority of white America will not vote for that candidate because it will give them the impression that we're going to have we're going to get a leg up? That's what you're suggesting? They will never vote for him? Like they would never vote for that kind of person?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If that was the case, then guess what? We wouldn't talk. There'd be no need for the Eric Dawson radio show.
Okay.
Just straight up. There'd be no need for the Eric Dawson radio show.
Let me just tell
Right,
you.
but I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question then. If you believe that, when Obama ran, he won because white people voted for him, right? And so I don't believe that the number of white people who voted for him had such a high political IQ that they were able to discern what he was and wasn't going to do. They voted for him to represent this country as what they saw as a black man. Now we could talk about.
Hey, Eric, well, pause. I just want to take your point. Jersey, right? New Jersey voted for Obama. Right? It went for Obama during when he ran for president. especially particularly the first time, I'm positive. Okay, but then the next year they voted Chris Christie for governor.
I'm not disputing that. But let's deal apples and apples first.
There is an odd mix of how it works. What I'm saying to you, in the end, though, anything. But here's I could say this. President Obama never said he was going to make things equal for black folks. He never even implied that what he was going to do when he was running. When we voted him in the first time, President Obama never said he was Joe Black, that he was going to be, on the black mission or the equality. He never even said he was going to be on the equality mission. That really wasn't what it was about. This country was swept up in, can we get past our past?
Right, but what I'm saying is that there was some implicit statements made in the election of the first black president. There were some implicit statements that were made. So whether he made them overtly or not, his very presence on the stage was making those statements. And white folks voted for him. So I disagree with you.
You know what though? Yeah, white people did vote.
Yeah, I disagree with you that you don't have white people who would vote for that. I certainly agree.
But what I'm saying again, those white people that voted for him weren't voting for a progressive man.
No, they weren't.
You know what I'm saying?
Wait, whoa. I'm gonna disagree with you.
Obama's platform right now.
I'm gonna disagree, but I'm gonna disagree.
Bernie Sanders' platform.
You don't let him finish.
Okay, if you took President Obama, what he ran for in 2008, and you took what Bernie Sanders is running for today, okay, their platforms are not similar. They don't complement each other.
Wait a minute.
In other words, what I'm saying is people that voted for Obama, they were not voting for Obama.
That's not true. I can't let you make statements that are not true. Obama ran on health care.
Okay,
wait a minute. So I just let you finish.
Tomorrow I'm going to Google up his platform.
Wait a minute. We're going to
see.
Farrakhan. Wait a minute. Farrakhan. You're going to tell me Obamacare was not progressive?
No.
Wait a minute. No, answer my question. I'm asking you one question. Was it progressive?
It wasn't. Now, what the Affordable Health Care was supposed to be was progressive.
No, that's my point. No, but that's my point. So what it ended up allowing. No, I'm not.
His inability to not compromise and to demand what he wanted.
Farrakhan, Farrakhan, I need you to stay focused. But I need you to stay focused, right? The people didn't vote for what wound up happening. That's why there's such discontent in the country now over it. But when he went in there saying that he was going to tackle health care, what they thought he was going to do was progressive. And they voted for him because they thought he was going to be progressive. Now, I agree with you. What he wound up doing was harmful, was dangerous, was a catastrophe. But that's not what the white people voted for. They voted because they.
And that's where I guess we're going to have a debate. I think that white people voted for the conservative Obama.
I disagree.
We voted for the progressive Obama.
I disagree.
Let's not go overboard with Obama's victory that he's got this. Let's not. Hey, Farrakhan and Eric, let's not go overboard. You got to put Obama's election in perspective. In every one of those districts, if he didn't get that, like that 1% out of every one of those districts, right, to win the electoral college, he wouldn't have won. So it wasn't like, and it was not an abundance of white people just ran out and voted for.
But we can say the same thing about Trump. But wait a minute, Kevin. But we can make the same comment about Trump. If Trump didn't win by,
you're not with me though. You ain't gonna have the goddamn whole floor. Now, I'm saying to you, Eric, I didn't disagree with you. I'm saying, well, let's not go overboard with how many white people voted for
No, I'm not.
Now, I think that white people voted for Obama because that was their way, because Obama presented himself that way. He said, we're one America. We're one group of people working together to make America great. I think he was an apologist. I think that, he had to do that to win to be the president. If he was anything else, he'd never won. So I think that, that was palatable. That was their way of saying, hey, this whole, what is it called, Diane? This whole
post-racial.
Well, no, this whole thing, yeah. All right, we're all together now. We're one big family.
Is that not progressive? Is that not progressive?
Diversity con game.
But was that not progressive? Was it not progressive to say that? Was it not progressive to say that we were post-racial? Now, I'm saying it was a lie. It was absolutely a lie, but was it?
Listen, man. Hey, wait a minute, though. I didn't say any of that. What I said to you was, let's not go overboard.
Oh no, I don't want to. No, I'm not going overboard. But I'm not gonna. But what Farrakhan said is that white people would not vote for that, and I disagree with that because they did.
Well, guess what? Let me tell you what they're going to do. You might be uncomfortable with this, right? And I think, Farrakhan, to your point, you're right. But let me just say this to you, Eric. At the end of the day, right now, people in America are saying two things: we're not happy, and we're not a part of this prosperity that everybody keeps talking about on TV. That's what they're saying. So now you're going to have a group of people on his side and a group of people on whoever gets the nomination side, right? But what we've seen in the last couple of days is everybody's always working for their team, right? So we can debate all of the mechanics of this or that or this, if it's progressive or not. But one thing for certain, one thing for sure, we ain't on any of those teams.
We're not.
Now, we have to make a decision if we're going to be the commodity today, or we're going to weaponize our vote finally to gain some power in this political process that we keep investing in. Right? So at the end of the day, that's the decision we have to make. So now, if you look at Bernie Sanders, if you look at Gorbachev, I don't know where this woman comes from, but I can see the whole thing being rigged.
She's the devil.
I don't even understand where this person comes from.
She's the devil. She's been spawned from hell. Listen.
But listen, Eric, but think about what I'm saying. Look at the 3-card Monty that's being played on Americans in this country. We are closer on some of these issues as it relates to healthcare, as it relates to economic inequality. I mean, everybody in America is hurting, but because of this great divide on the right and the left, if they keep conning us and getting us in that sand trap, we can never get together to kick those people off the island. That's the problem. Listen, if you go to Appalachia, if you go to West Virginia, if you go to those places, those people are living worse than anybody in this town is living. You go up in those mountains, those people are living horrible. If you go down to Oklahoma, they're closing all the rural hospitals down in those rural parts of the country. They don't even have hospitals. They don't even have jobs. They're making $18,000 a year and being taxed. So if you come to this part of the country in the north, we still in denial. We think living up in the north is a better opportunity. In the same condition, 4 jobs, 5 jobs, can't get adequate health care, can't get adequate daycare, can't get a job that's paying them the right wages. But you have everybody coming in front of you every year, every election cycle, saying we're going to make it better. You're goddamn fools. If you keep believing that, you are fools. It ain't getting any better. That's why in the last election, they went from 60-some-odd% to 51% to Hillary Clinton. And I dare say this, in this next election, that number is going to drop.
I agree.
That's all I'm saying, guys. That's all I'm saying. That's it. But did I lose you guys?
Nope, I'm here.
Oh, so what I'm saying to you, that's one of the things I'm concerned about. I think that when we get into these debates, that's what happens.
I got another clip to play.
That's your point.
This is my second clip that I'm playing off of Fox News. What I tell you? I said I have completely immersed myself.
Our producers are telling us, Eric, in my ear, that we have to do a break.
Oh, okay. We're going to take a break. And then when we come back.
I have the thing in my ear. Look, Diane, I have the thing in my ear.
All right.
Go ahead, guys.
So we're going to take the commercial. But when I come back, I want to play the second clip from Fox News segment I saw yesterday, where they were framing why they believe Donald Trump is going to get a larger chunk of the black vote in the 2020 election.
Well, you got to show me that because that's delusional.
Hey, listen, I'm going to show you the clip when we come back. We'll be right back. Thanks, producer.
Do you have loss prevention or safety concerns?
That was a...
Black Belt Security and Investigations has armed and unarmed guards that can protect what is important to you. For security you can count on, visit www.bbsillc.com or call 1-800-493-1859 today.
It's time to turn up the heat in your house or apartment. So here are some fire safety tips from Diane L. Murray Insurance Agency to keep you warm and safe this winter. Don't overload your electrical outlets. Keep flammable items away from fireplaces and space heaters. And put a fresh battery in your smoke detector. Turn to Diane L. Murray Insurance Agency for your home and renter's insurance, or bundle it with your auto insurance and save. Call 908-686-4609 or visit dlminsurance.com today.
BBSI. BBSILLC.com.
I think we're back, right?
Yes.
So I got this clip. I'm going to play it. Now, because remember, Donald Trump, what did he say? He made a pledge in 2016. He said that he was going to guarantee that in 2020 he was going to get a greater percentage of the black vote. And these are the things that they're looking at now to determine that or at least their determination is that it is true. And I believe also, as I cue this clip up, that Farrakhan might agree with a lot of this. Here we go.
Well, thank you. To bring back Mark Penn and Larry Elder. Larry, I'll give you the question on is there these 8 polls, dramatic support in the African-American community from a president who had 8%, the lowest is 16, 34.5, 34, 33, 28, 22, lowest is 16. Right. Does that translate into votes, especially based on the economic record in the African-American community?
I think so. There's clearly he's going to do much better than that 7% or so he got in 2016. You're talking about historical low unemployment, the First Step Act that allowed a bunch of black men, about 1,000, to have their sentences reduced an average of 70 months. You're talking about doing something about illegal immigration, and illegal immigrants, those who have little skills, pose threats to jobs and puts downward pressure on wages of unskilled black and brown people living in the inner city. He's doing something to put more money into the pockets.
So, do you agree with that?
I believe that there are a lot of black people in this country that are going to vote for Donald Trump. But as far as what he's saying, I don't agree with. I just think that when you go to the South, we have a different mindset in the South. It's more connected to their religion and their faith. And I think that they don't see the world the way that we do. You know, and I gotta tell you, he's going to get a decent percentage of the black vote. Now, I know people might be upset with that, but that happened with George W. Bush. That happened with a lot of presidents. I'm not shocked by it. But I think Donald Trump is going to get a lot of votes from that part of the country.
Because we talk on this show, Kevin, about how the Democratic Party has been pushing this immigration reform. Right,
and that's right, Eric. Right.
And you know, and moving foundational Black Americans further and further behind. And so what this gentleman said on Fox News was that Donald Trump has been fighting the fight that we think that the Democrats should be fighting, saying, look, you know, it is illegal for you to be here. There is a pathway, come the way that you're supposed to come. We're not going to afford you opportunities for driver's licenses and sanctuary if you're here illegal. He's saying some of the things that we say here on the show.
Well, I gotta tell you, I've seen this before. You know, you've been. I don't know if you've been in that part of the country. I don't know if you've been in the Bible Belt part of the country in a long time. I mean, in a while. But I got to tell you something, Eric. They don't think the way we do. And I got to tell you, there are a lot of those churches, those Baptist churches, those evangelicals down there, and they represent a large swath of, this country, and I think they're going to vote for him because they are anti-establishment at a whole nother level. We're anti-establishment, but they're anti-establishment at a whole nother level. It's about God and country. It's about their guns, too. And it's about, I think you make a good point. I think that gentleman made a good point. It's about legal immigration. Look, if you go right now in a diner and you sit down with just basic people, right, in a diner, this is your best poll you can take as a human being. If you go in there and sit down and talk to people about immigration, I guarantee you 65% of the people would disagree with the policies of the Democratic Party as it relates to immigration.
Right.
On economic issues, on protection issues, and you'd be very surprised who will push back. So if Republicans are pushing back, that might be a good tactic. But if they're pushing opportunity zones, that was bullcrap. That was never going to work. Nobody knows what an opportunity zone is, right? But if you push mass incarceration, he's got a better record in dealing with the mass incarceration record than Biden. He's got a better track record in dealing with the mass incarceration than Buttigieg. He's got a better track record than Klobuchar, right? When you really think of it, he got a better track record than Bloomberg.
Right.
Think about what I'm saying to you. He's a racist, but he signed into law some of the most progressive laws when it comes around to mass incarceration. Now, is he reversing everything else? That's always a three-card Monty with black people. But see, if you really want to have a conversation about it, you got to look at it that way too. I mean, I'm not saying I don't want the guy to be president of the United States ever again. But if you really want to start talking about where he's going to win, how he's going to win, and in those electoral college states, that guy, it's going to be a close election. Every election in this country since Kennedy and Nixon has been razor thin. So for anybody to think it's going to be a complete blowout is absolutely crazy.
Right. And so
that's my position. You know what I'm saying, buddy? That's my position.
Yeah, I think. So my question to you is this, and I think this is a perfect segue into this impeachment stuff that is taking place right now, because I think that it is going to be a very, very tough race, Kev. And so in terms of the three-card Monty and Democrat establishment, well, let's take this call, and then I'll finish what it is that I want to ask.
I just want to say, Eric, Donald Trump has earned an increase in black vote. If you go by the numbers and the statistics. I'm not saying to give him one, but if you went by statistics, who has done more in the last 4 years to make black life in America more comfortable? At the same time, his rhetoric may have incited a different type of racism to bring racism out of people, right? You know, while he's saying, okay, I'm going to help incarcerated people or help reduce that, at the same time he's creating a black versus white kind of like dialogue, but he'll say that's not his fault. So, right, so unless the Democratic Party can show that, point that out to blacks, especially in the South, right? Where in the South, blacks are a lot more patriotic. They're a lot more to the American system. And in that understanding, the more patriotic you are, the probably more likely you are to be Republican, right? Or to go with Republican views, because that's what they portray themselves as. So it's sure to say that Donald Trump is going to get a higher vote. And it's sure to say that in those particular places that you just mentioned is where it'll come from.
Well,
what you say, Kev?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a question, because you bring up some interesting, and we should all be responsible to listen to this conversation you're having right now, because we always get fooled, and we never are put in a position where we can negotiate and influence what we need, our outcomes, right? So let me just say this to you. When it comes to the social safety net, right, I think that he's done a poor job on the social safety net. I mean, I got to tell you, I get that. But he's not going to run on that. He's going to run on those two things we just talked about, right? And in the South, like you just said, there is an opportunity for him to squeeze out a high plurality of votes for himself. I get that. But here's the deal. When they go to vote for Trump, I'm going to tell you why black people in the South are going to go vote for Trump. Because they're voting against the Democrats. They're voting against those other people. Those Democrats don't speak to those people. The Democratic Party never goes to speak to those people. They write them off. They're not communicating with those people. And that's why they're going to vote for Donald Trump. See, when Donald Trump goes down there and do that crazy stuff that he does, that radical racist stuff that he does, right? A lot of those people live on the same plantation down there in the South. They all get along. They all get along, boys. All get along, girls. They all go to church together. So believe it or not, that's going to have a bigger impact on who votes, black people voting for Trump, as opposed to how we see it. So I think you make a good point. We should be open to the discussion that you're having. There's a huge possibility that can happen. You're right. I agree. Yeah. I agree with you. Listen, on MSNBC, I boycotted MSNBC, but I was listening to it on my TV in the kitchen because Gail had it on in the kitchen. One of the young people, one of the people that were working for Obama, I forgot his name, Eric, said that Bernie Sanders would lose the election because this came out of his mouth. He said Bernie Sanders is going to lose the election because he's not going to win a swath of votes across the country. So that's basically what you're saying, in a sense. Trump is going to win those other votes in the country because they're saying Bernie Sanders is a socialist. He doesn't speak to all of America. I thought that was crazy.
Right.
But I got to tell you, I thought it was crazy.
Well, look.
But there's a possibility.
Look, there was an article that I put up on my page.
I'm sorry. Before I hang up, I just got one question, Rahul, before you start with that, Eric. What do you think happens when Donald Trump is not removed from impeachment? What do you think that does for Donald Trump? Do you think that invigorates his position, makes him more of a solid incumbent to win, or does it weaken him? See, I think that's the key. I think that sometimes I think that Democrats are sabotaging themselves, because when he does not get removed, when they don't fine for impeachment and removal for him,
right.
I think Donald Trump just becomes stronger.
Right. So here's what I'd say to you.
I'm gonna sit back and listen.
Okay. So here's what I would say to you. Look at the entire chessboard. Don't just look at Donald Trump. Look at all the congressional seats that are up. Look at the senatorial seats that are up. That's what's all at play right now in this impeachment thing. It's not just about Donald Trump. It's about tying Republican congressmen and women and tying Republican senators to Donald Trump, to this idea that there is this cover-up, there was this crime, there's this collusion. And in purple states, in these districts that are competitive, they're hoping to gain traction come midterm election time. That's one of the things. The other thing is not necessarily to get Donald Trump removed. They knew going in that Mitch McConnell in the Senate ran this thing. What they're trying to do is just muddy him up enough so that anybody who is tied with him runs a risk. That's what they're trying to do. Now,
but Eric, don't you think that's an inside game? Don't you think average game?
Well, it is an inside game, Kev. But look, we can't accomplish. But we talked about this before, right? You can have any president that you want talk about issues. It was like the question that Just Shady Latham asked me. What would I do when I became congressman, right? And so I can tell you what I'm fighting for, but unless I have an undergirding of support, right, that is going to vote for the things that I'm fighting for, I can just tell you that I'm going to fight for them. And so if you're trying to shift the balance, we talked about this too, shifting the balance of power. You have to shift the balance of power in the Congress, and you have to shift the balance of power in the Senate in order to effectuate change when it comes to policy, right? So it's not just taking out Donald Trump. You got to go down ballot. So
yeah, but I get that. But you are absolutely correct about that. I'm saying to you, you were just giving some inside play. You gave an inside playbook, an example of what's going on, and it's all about down ballot. And you're saying that everybody should be thinking about down ballot. Don't worry about Donald Trump. And I get that. You're absolutely right about that. We need to be a little bit more sophisticated in that space because we don't do a very good job. Because as of last night, I don't know if it's because of you or because of what we're talking about on the show, or because he put his finger up in the air. Donald Payne Jr. went before the council meeting yesterday to talk about something I just didn't understand. Yeah. I didn't understand. I was confused by it all.
Yeah.
I mean, you're walking into City Hall. You weren't there when we were talking about the water. You weren't there when we were talking about the dirty streets.
Right.
You weren't there when we were talking about the corruption.
Weren't there when we were talking about Essex County College closing, not talking about the prison, not talking about any of those things.
So I mean, but it goes. But I think to your down ballot discussion, I think that sometimes when we talk, it goes back to what Diane was saying. We have to simplify this for them. If you don't pay attention to the down ballot, you lose the fight. You lose the title fight anyway. It ain't about just Trump, and you're absolutely right about that. And I think that what Farrakhan brought up about Trump, we should not just say, "Oh, that ain't going to happen." There's a strong possibility it can happen.
I agree.
Yeah, I just think we need to keep our eyes open on this, and I think that as far as the impeachment was concerned, Eric, I think that was a colossal waste of time. Colossal waste of time.
You know what? I thought it was.
Whatever their tactic was, whatever their strategy was, whatever they thought it was going to do, people are not plugged dialed in. Now, only the insiders and people that want to see what an impeachment is and see what the process is and all of that stuff, I get that. It's the same thing with Clinton. Clinton knew that if he stayed strong enough and if he started doing the business for the people in this country, and he knew that, and he knew one thing for certain, one thing for sure, black people weren't running away from him. So he knew that he had half of the country in his pocket. He had to fight for the other half, which was those people.
But there's a big difference, right? And you know, I was for the impeachment, against the impeachment, for it, against it. But to compare, and now I'm for it, right? But to compare Bill Clinton's impeachment to this is different, right? With Bill Clinton, with Bill.
Go ahead. I want to hear this. Go ahead. I want to hear this.
So with Bill Clinton, at the end of the day, it was about him having sex with Monica Lewinsky. Right? They wanted to embarrass him. He lied, and then that was the impeachment, that he lied, right? But it was all about a personal relationship that he had, an extramarital affair. What we're talking about right now are precedents that are being set in terms of what a president can do and cannot do, in terms of coordinating with foreign governments to interfere in elections. And that a president, and what they want to say, and Dershowitz is arguing this right now. He's saying that no matter what the president does, it should not rise to impeachment. So there's a lot more. So we're talking about the very constructs of our democracy right now, and what laws are being written as we speak. Law books are going to be thrown out as a result of this particular impeachment in terms of what can and cannot happen. Whether or not a president can move confidential information to a private server, whether or not he can invoke in a very broad way executive privilege such that nobody can speak about anything that is going on. That's a far cry from what happened with Bill Clinton and his sexual relations with Monica Lewinsky. We're talking about, and because this goes, Kevin, and it will be played out through every other president. Trust me. They'll look at this. They'll look at the rulings that the Supreme Court is making on this. And every president now, if Donald Trump is allowed to do this, every president will say, you know what? Coming into the gate, I'm invoking, I'm going to work backwards, right? I'm going to make sure that I have all of my top level people that I'm going to be doing my dirt with. I'm going to invoke executive privilege over all of them, like the cone of silence, and get smart, right?
Okay, you know what? Drill down on everything you just said, because I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
so
it's very dangerous.
Drill down on what you're saying.
And we got to
call. Let me just drill down on what you're saying now. So you have a split in this country. You have partisanship in this country. So partisanship at the time that Bill Clinton was in office, because they tried to not lock him up just for that, or impeach him just for that. They tried to impeach him from the day that he walked into office.
Got it.
Same thing they're doing to Trump. That's number one. Number two, it was sex that they were using as a tool, because they thought that at that time in the marketplace, sex was going to sell, and it was going to show that he was not fit to be the president of the United States of America. So, but it was still driven by partisan politics. The Republicans going after him. Now the Democrats are going after Trump. Right? So now, as it relates to all of the executive part of what you were saying, executive, powers of the presidency always had a lot of latitude to do a number of things that it's done. And that, for instance, I give you a good example. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Barack Obama talked about Bush Jr. signing executive orders and saying that was unconstitutional. We should be working through the Congress. You know what he did? When he got into office, he signed those executive orders. Okay? And the Democrats said nothing.
I'm not talking about executive orders.
Wait a minute. Listen, I didn't say anything when you were saying. I'm just giving examples of why all of this stuff, the mechanics of what they're doing there in Washington now on impeachment, it might be that one telephone call. They might say that, we're interpreting what that telephone call is, but it's the same thing they did with the sex. It didn't suggest that he was unfit, and this doesn't really suggest if Trump's unfit. He said, I withheld the money because they're saying that it wasn't his brain now. They know his intent. What was in his brain? I held the money back because I wanted to find out if these guys, if Biden was crooked.
Wait, Kevin.
It's all for interpretation. It's not going to change our democracy. Our democracy is being took up. What are you talking about?
Kevin.
Your democracy.
Kevin.
It ain't your damn.
I just called to say one thing because there's a name not getting mentioned, and Eric said something. You said you're now for impeachment. I'm not questioning impeachment or not. I don't really even care because I know in Black America it don't change that much. But what I want to say is this: if you are for impeachment, you are for Mike Pence as president.
I'm for what?
Now, you're for Mike Pence as president. And that's another thing. That's a name we never talk about it, right? If we lose Donald Trump, we get Mr. Aaron, probably brotherhood, Mike Pence.
Right.
Are we ready for that one? Give me a battling idiot called Donald Trump any day over Mike Pence.
No, wait a minute. So I want to say this.
I mentioned with Mike Pence.
Right. But we have to do this, right? So firstly, we have to stop calling Donald Trump a babbling idiot because Donald Trump was able to control. No, Farrakhan just did. So we have to stop calling him a babbling idiot because he was able to maneuver himself into the White House. He was able to contort the entire Republican Party to his will, right? So we can't call him a babbling idiot. I don't believe that Mike Pence would have the ability to do what Donald Trump did. So he might be a figurehead as president, but his ability to do what Donald Trump has done to the Republican Party, I don't think that he would do that. I don't think that he would have the allegiance.
No, Eric.
Wait a minute. Let me
give Donald Trump too much credit. He landed in this by accident.
No.
He is the buffoon that he is. Come on.
Listen.
We can call him a babbling idiot. Now, he might have been, I don't want to say politically savvy or whatever, but he is a babbling idiot. If you listen to him talk, he's babbling and it sounds like an idiot. So he's a babbling idiot, no matter how you put it. Okay, I have a really good, we had a great talk today. Just a great talk. That's a babbling idiot. Okay?
Right, you know what I say it is? So here's the thing, right?
But Mike Pence is sitting on the back right now. He's that dude in the crowd, and he's saying, "Yeah, however this goes, I'm coming out of this good."
Right. So
no matter what.
Right. So here's
he might be telling Facebook, give you some extra likes just so that can get out there. Because believe me, you don't want Mike Pence for president.
Here's what I'm going to say regarding the babbling idiot thing.
Go ahead, Eric.
Here's what I'm going to say about the babbling idiot thing again. We can talk about how Donald Trump talks, right? So let's not emotionalize it. And I said this during the 2016 election when I said that Donald Trump was going to win. Donald Trump knew how to speak to his audience. So you, as a more refined person, Farrakhan, you might look at it and say, "Man, he's talking like that." But those people, that base of his, that's how they want to hear him. So when I say he's not an idiot, he knows how to speak to his base. So it may not resonate with you, but the fact that it resonated with enough people to be... So they talked about it in the New York Times, if you remember. They said Donald Trump was intentionally speaking on a 6th grade reading level, right? Because that's where his base was. So we look at it and say, man, I can't believe that guy is talking like that. But it was very intentional. So I'm saying, be careful when you call him an idiot. I think he knew exactly what he was doing.
That is who the man is. Let's move on. He's a babbling idiot.
All right.
It's your opinion that he's not, but he is, and he speaks to his base who are more babbling.
Well, I like to add something to that, Eric. I actually agree with Eric. He's not a babbling fool. And let me tell you why he's not a babbling fool. He had the biggest, the brightest establishment candidates up there with him. and they were tone deaf. Whatever he is, wherever he is, whatever he is, whoever he's going to be, and moving in the future, I get it. But let me tell you what he did. He did the same thing Barack Obama did.
He does the same that the local government.
No, he did the same thing Barack Obama. And I think it's very interesting that you say he's not a babbling fool, Eric, because we probably can stick a pin in that and say something's wrong with the man. He's mentally ill. Yeah. But Obama saw real radical change to his clan, and he saw radical change to his clan, and he won. Both of them won.
Yep.
But the same message.
Yep.
But the same message. And I find that very interesting. So I wouldn't suggest that he's a complete babbling fool. He just knows people better than possibly I do in that part of the country. I don't know those people. So when you look at that electoral map, a lot of his people live in that electoral map. And let me tell you why we were so fooled the last time. Because we're so conditioned to look at people right or wrong, or if they're intelligent or not intelligent. He wasn't speaking to us at all, and that's why he won. Again, because he's not speaking to us at all. Now people are saying we're bullying him. Now people are saying, well, we tried to do the same thing they did to Clinton. Yeah. Now all of a sudden they're saying, well, you know what? They wanted to impeach him from day one.
Yeah.
The same exact construct is being set up for him to go to his base, those people, and say, look what they're trying to do to me. Look what they're trying to take away from me. They're trying to take it away from you. And guess what? It's going to work. It's going to work. And you know what? That's why I'm saying impeachment didn't work for me. What those Democrats are not doing, and they will not do it because they don't want to be held responsible, they are not talking to us. They're not. They should be out around the country talking to us about how they're going to work with us to change our conditions, and they don't feel responsible to do that.
Well, no, I don't think it's not about them feeling responsible to do it.
No, let me use my word. Let me use my word. I'm saying responsible for today.
Yeah.
So you can say whatever you want.
But I'm saying they're not going to do it because they're aligned with industries who want them to continue to do their bidding. Call or go.
Well, that's true. That's true too. You're right.
Oh, okay. We had a caller there.
I want to read some of the feed though.
Go ahead.
Sid said, nope, he is a tool. He is not speaking to us at all. I agree with you about that. Kathy Fellow said, it's like that old Who song, here comes the new boss, the same old boss. Sid says, we have Pence policies anyway, though. That's very true. That's very, very true. Just Sadie said, thank you, Kevin, Lord, something. She must have been getting at us about something. And then Diane says, honestly, minimum wage should start at $25 an hour. I didn't really mean to say anything Diane said. Then it goes on. So that was,
I didn't say that. Just Lacey.
Okay, she broke it down well.
Just Shady. I'm sorry. Just
Shady.
Shady said that.
So I got to tell you, there's a lot of things for us to look at, but none of them are. I mean, right now at this point, I think we got to be really paying attention to the South. See what happens. But there's going to be a lot of people, Eric, in New Jersey that votes for Donald Trump.
And not only New Jersey,
I'm voting
Delaware.
for Donald Trump. We ain't got one Democratic candidate that I'm willing to vote for. Nope, not pushing the button for them.
Well, is that interesting? But wait a minute though. But you're a black woman saying, no, I think that's very interesting. I don't take what you said lightly. And think about it. The last election, Eric, if you guys remember, the last election, white women abandoned the Democratic Party and voted for Trump.
Absolutely. Kevin, you mentioned Donald Payne Jr. was at City Hall. Well, what was he talking about?
Well, if you can figure it out.
About the important issues of water and housing. What was he talking about?
What it says to me is that he doesn't have enough money, like AOC and them, and he's not actively doing anything in his base that he believes that he's in a comfortable position to win. Somebody must have told him, well, you know what, people are really unsatisfied with you. And he thought his best strategy was, at the moment, was to go to a city council meeting and talk to Norcas and seniors that might say, oh, that's Donald Payne Sr.'s son. I got to tell you, that's the only thing I can get out of it. I can't tell you anything else.
Look, this is what I'm going to, what I got out of it. And I agree with you, Kevin. I think that that given what's going on, given what those other more progressive, more active, more intelligent congressmen and women are doing in Washington for their constituents, puts Donald M. Payne Jr. to shame. And he understands that, which is why I think that nonsensical article that came out in the Globe talking about his popularity, right? And then on top of that now, he shows up in the city of Newark. Well, if you look at what he usually gets in voting numbers, he's at around 30,000 votes or so, right? And a large number of those votes come out of Newark. And so his alignment with the Democratic Party, his alignment with the administration that's currently in the city of Newark, he's going to rely heavily on them to contribute a tremendous amount of that 38,000 votes that he gets coming out of Newark. And that's why he showed up.
You make a good point. What he's really banking on is that we will continue to engage in malpractice.
That's absolutely right. That's what I
believe. I think he's smart enough to believe that, based on trending, based on metrics, that, black people in this city will continue to, engage in malpractice. I believe that.
That's absolutely right.
And you know what? And guess what? Nothing has proven him wrong thus far.
No. And in fact, like loyalists, black folks in Newark have been herded to the polls by Negro whisperers and slave catchers, and he has no reason to believe that won't happen again.
And guess what? And Diane, can you do me a favor, please? I know you're moving paper around. Can you put it on mute, please, like you tell me about my phone? Thank you very much. Yeah.
Oh, look at you paying attention.
But anyway, Eric, but to your point, though, I think his strategy is a doable strategy because he's been there for 10 years. But let me make a point, and I hope I can do it justice today. Now, we talked about Hakeem Jeffries, but in spite of how we feel, in spite of what people might think of his district, he's now being elevated in the Congress, and he can do more because he understands the system. He can negotiate things for whatever we like, whatever we think of him. But he has power in the Congress now, and he's going to use that power. And whatever they're using him to manipulate to give the impression that we have a black man rising in the ranks, I get that con job. But they think somebody that's articulate, smart, and strategic, and understands the business of politics and how to relate that back to their community. Up in the Bronx, they sent AOC. In Minnesota, Minneapolis, that area, they sent the two Muslim sisters, Rashida, and they sent Ilhan Omar, and we could go down the line. So now look at the quality of the talent that they're sending to Capitol. They got Chuck Schumer in New York. They had Hillary Clinton as a U.S. Senator. Now look who our U.S. senators are. And look what they're doing for us. Look at the talent that they're sending down there. Right? One flying planes, having sex, the other going around talking about love. Nobody ain't talking about showing us that. But look at the talent. I'm just saying, just close your eyes and look at the talent. Look at what they're around the country, what they're sending to Washington, and see what we're sending to Washington.
New Jersey should be embarrassed.
They go to the state and see that Sweeney and all of those guys out the state are aligned, they're intelligent, they're working on their business, they're making their money, they're building their city, they're doing all the things lockstep to showcase that they have power and influence, and they're bringing the best, and I wouldn't say the best and the brightest, but the best and the most effective.
Mm-hmm.
Now look what we bring down there.
Right.
That just says a lot about us.
Yeah, it does.
I'm trying to connect this narrative to us.
Yeah.
And that's the shameful part about it is. That's the shameful part. Think about the people that they're sending down to the state legislature and to Congress and to the Senate. And look at the work that Chuck Schumer is doing for New York. Look at what Pallone is doing up in South Jersey. Look what Norcross, the brother that's a congressman, is doing up in South Jersey. Look what they're doing. And look at the people that we sent. Old Betty from down the street. Old Malika, she was my cousin. Oh, look who we're allowing to put in seats of power to represent us.
We're not putting them in seats of power.
That says a lot about us. That says a lot about us.
But we're not putting them in seats of power. Let's be clear.
But no, just for the sake of saying seats of power for people to get it. I'm trying to get them to visualize this. Look who's sitting in that chamber articulating what's happening in Big Farm. Look who's sitting in that chamber talking about transportation, and when we know we have the greatest transportation crisis of our time in this country and in the state of New Jersey. See, I'm talking about sitting in that seat and showcasing the fact that I represent people that are giving me power to have an impact in this space right here. And that's what AOC and those other people are doing. That's the big difference. Look who we sending.
The question that I would ask is this. You had the congressman in the 10th Congressional District show up at a council meeting to talk about accomplishments of his. I would ask you, what has transformatively changed as a result of him being in office?
Listen, we said it again. It's zero return on investment. But wait, can I add one more to this? Nikki Sherrill, she just, an airline pilot. She just won her congressional seat. Who was the first one to give a congressional hearing on the water in Essex County? Was Nikki Sherrill. Right. And you know what? She invited him. She invited Donald Payne Jr. She invited the guy. See, that's what I'm trying to say. Look, take all that personal stuff off. I'm talking about business now. I'm having a business conversation. I'm having a save your butt conversation. I'm having about how does the world look at us when we send those kind of people representing us, and they think they can do just enough to come back and sell us garbage as hope. Well, because the Negro Whisperer has done a great job herding us like cattle. The black mayors in this state have done a great job of managing poverty, right? And they have been the best slave catchers they possibly could be. And we are fools. We are the most idiotic people on the planet Earth to keep buying that program, to keep dressing up that bad, stinking turkey. We should shame ourselves. And that's what I'm saying. We should be ashamed of ourselves. But they can even come in front of us and even have an articulated conversation about anything. Look who they sending down there. He got $2 in the bank. She's going to have $2 million in the bank. And then you know how bad she is? She's going to make sure all of her other squad have $2 million in the bank. Hello.
Right.
I'm telling you, come on, folks. We're the most embarrassing. That's why the state of New Jersey gets nothing. But I bet you up in South Jersey they're getting something. I bet you up in Sussex County they're getting something. I bet you over in Morris County they're getting something. Because they sending the right people to represent us.
Well, we talked about it on yesterday's show, Kevin, that they're operating from seats of power, right? They're working to build power, to shift power. That's not why we're there. That's not why we elect them. We elect them there, or they're elected there, or they're appointed there to simply manage poverty. Difference.
And that's the challenge. But you know what, Eric, you're right, because that's what's happening on the show here. See, we're codifying language that allows even the most idiotic person to understand that they're in trouble.
Yeah.
They're in trouble. The most idiotic person. Even if you don't like Eric and Kevin, you gotta know you're in trouble.
There's no reasonable person that can look at Donald M. Payne and think for a moment that he represents the best that they could get in terms of somebody who would fight for them. He just wouldn't see it. And so you have to look and say, well, what are you rationalizing for? Why are you rationalizing your life away? Why are you rationalizing the future of your children away by going in and telling people that they should go and vote for this guy? When you have examples all around the country of people who are putting in work.
People who are taking risks. And I got to respect that. They're putting in work. You're right. They're
taking risks. They're putting in work. This guy is not taking a single risk. He's not putting in any work. And you have people caping for him, Kevin.
I like that. You remind me of that word, caping. That's right, caping. Well, we all are caping. We're caping to our demise. We're caping for him. Could you imagine that guy sitting in a room with 40 of us? And he's talking about, well, you know, or any of them. Like, what? Really? Are you serious? Because, see, those communities fight for themselves. They believe that the people that they send in Washington should represent them. They believe that the people they send to Trenton should represent them. They believe in Livingston and Millburn and Cedar Grove and Essex County. Guess what? Y'all can have those problems, but we ain't having those problems. We're going to have some clean water up in here. We're going to have some clean streets up in here. We ain't gonna purchase malfeasance up in here. We ain't gonna buy corruption up in here. Come on, folks. It's about us. We look bad. We're embarrassed. Where I live at, Eric? I live in Essex County. Where I live at, Eric? I live Society Hill.
Society Hill.
I ain't never telling nobody I live in a city with dirty water. And then they're gonna tell you we're doing the greatest job ever. But you ain't talking about when you killed us for 3 years when you was covering up. Then you're gonna tell us you're doing the greatest job putting the pipes in the ground, but you ain't gonna tell us that you're not really doing it right. You're just gonna keep promoting the lie. You're just gonna keep promoting the spin. You're just gonna keep destroying kids' lives. Are you kidding me? Shame on us.
Hit the share button, guys. Please share the show.
Shame on us. We sitting in the coffee. We sitting up there on Clinton Avenue talking about Assalamu alaikum. Are you kidding me? And you go into these black churches, they talking about the other Jesus as opposed to the liberating Jesus. They telling us a different theology. Give me the money. Give me your power. I'll leverage myself for me and screw you. Because all those people in those churches are suffering the same thing, Eric. The uncertainty of the uncertainty of the uncertainty. Are you kidding me?
So what else do we have going on, man?
You know what we got going on? That ditch that I told you we got to go build in the back and put our bodies in it. Because in 1253 we out. In 12 years we off the grid. You know what we got? That's all I got for you.
Well, Wendy Williams is officially divorced from Kevin Hunter now.
Oh, good. That old witch. Good for her. Hey, Diane, you know I don't like that lady, Diane. You know what I'm saying? She's a mean person.
How is she a mean person?
Oh, she's a mean person.
So is that good for her or good for him?
Good for both. So they did a settlement.
Hey, Eric, that's good, Eric. I like that.
They did a great settlement. He released himself from all the stuff from her businesses and stuff. She let him walk away with his cars, and she gave him $1 million life insurance policy on her, and
a
nice settlement, and kept it moving.
Right. Oh my God, please, both of them go away.
Hey, Diane, did they have children together?
Yeah, they have one son, Kevin Jr. He's in college.
Okay. Oh, that's good. I hope he's all right.
Yeah, I hope he's all right through this nonsense.
Yeah. I hope he gets through it. She's on air talking about somebody's physical problem. You know, I thought that was offensive when she did that.
What are you talking about?
When she went after the guy that just won the award that played the Joker.
Oh.
You
watch her, Joaquin Phoenix?
Yes, Cliff. No, it's on my feed. I can't. That's the most important thing in America. Wait a minute. You know what the best thing in America? You know what the most popular thing in America now?
What?
Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt.
Yes, that's
this
big
crazy
news.
woman over there.
Wait, what's going on with Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt?
They're together now.
Again?
No, they're not. Stop
it.
Yes,
they are.
Diane.
They're now together.
Diane, are you serious?
Angeline, you know she done dumped them. So
Wait, Diane, are you serious? They're back together?
Yes, I'm for real.
Now I'm gonna tell you something. Right? I'm not like a big.
Diane is lying.
Yes, they are.
Wait, you're falling in her trap.
Shut up, Kevin.
No. Now, Diane,
Eric, you're falling in her trap, Eric.
Wait a minute. I'm looking it up right now.
They are back together.
Angelina Jolie ain't never going to allow that to happen. She'll come back.
Oh, their divorce is on.
Oh yeah, but she'll come back.
For them. You know
Angelina Jolie will come back and take care of that.
You know, Angelina Jolie is as crazy as Halle Berry.
Hey, back up off of her. Anybody can wear leather like that one? She's all right with me. No, they're not back together.
Yes, they are, Kevin. Quiet. They are.
No, they're not. But I gotta.
Well, listen, I'm gonna tell you this. When Brad Pitt and I love the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I thought that was
That's
a brilliant.
My favorite movie.
That was a brilliant movie. But I'm gonna tell you something. You can't hide chemistry. And when I watched that movie, I swear, the person I was sitting there watching with, I said, "Oh, they're together."
Yeah.
I said, "They're together."
Yeah.
They said, "No, they're not." He's with Jennifer Aniston. I said, "Oh no, he's with her." And then shortly after that, dude.
Eric, there was no way he was walking off that set without that one.
Yo, dude, you saw it all on the screen. But listen, speaking of movies, I went to go see Bad Boys 3.
Yeah, I heard it was good.
Man, listen. I'm gonna tell you, Martin Lawrence. I heard, Diane, you can confirm this because you're our person who's up on the pop culture stuff. I was told that that Will Smith got a lot more money than Martin Lawrence got.
Absolutely.
Martin Lawrence stole the show.
But they also said there was a new young guy that was in it too, that he was good as well.
No.
Don't give it away, Kevin.
I'm not giving it away. But I'm not giving it away, but I will say that Martin Lawrence stole the show.
Okay.
He stole the show. And I saw it in, where did I see it? In Wayne? I think I saw it in Wayne. But whatever movie theater I was in, the chairs. So, like, the chairs were, like, vibrating.
So are you getting a check from that movie theater?
Why? No, I'm just saying, you want to go, listen, and I'm going to tell you, if you ever go to a movie with me, I am one to get up and go get the manager. If you're talking.
Oh my God, I can't.
I do. Kevin.
Really?
Listen.
Just go doing a matinee
No,
when nobody's here.
I pay my goddamn money. I want to sit there and I want to watch the movie. I don't need you running your mouth. I don't need you on your phone, right? I don't need any of that.
You then go in the afternoon when
I'm going to go when I want to go. And if you don't know how to behave, and you know what? Stop bringing that stinky, nasty food with you. See, people come there it's one thing if you bring popcorn and stuff in your bag. I understand that because the price of popcorn in the movie theater is really high. But when you unwrapping McDonald's and you unwrapping fish, and like literally, I'm sitting there next to a person, Kevin, and they got fried fish. Do you understand? I'm sitting there now for 2.5, 3 hours in a movie theater. I can't move because those seats are seats that you purchase, right? So you can't just go and move anywhere else. So now I'm stuck in this seat, and you're sitting next to me, and you're unwrapping fish and French fries.
Well, let me just say
Kevin, look, he ran to get the white man and tell the black man he can't eat his fish.
No, it was a black person. It was a black person that I went and got, but damn right I went and got him, and I don't hide. You know what? In fact, Diane, I don't even sneak to go get him. I tell you, I'm going to get the manager.
Aaron, I have gone to the movie theater and have given events at the movie theater up here on Springfield Avenue. And I must say this one thing. I've never had that problem.
No, you know what? I'm going to tell you, that theater on Springfield.
I love that movie theater.
But Kevin, I don't go, listen, I can't go there at night.
That's very safe.
At the night is different.
Complain.
Different.
Okay, how about this?
I go during the matinee. I'll go to that one at the matinee. What do you say, Diane?
So we know you love to watch Netflix, both of you, all of us. Have you seen Fall from Grace, Tyler Perry's movie that people have been talking about?
Yes, I saw it.
What were your thoughts?
I liked it.
I liked it too, but a lot of people were complaining. Have you seen it, Kevin?
No, I'm not going to watch it.
Oh my God! Why are you not going to watch it, Kevin? Go ahead and tell us why you hate black people.
I know what it's about already. I get it. I think it's a powerful movie. Don't get me wrong.
What do you think it's about? What do you think it's about, Kevin?
It's about this man that marries this older woman. She falls in love with him, right? And he takes advantage of her, destroys her life, and she starts to, take command of her life and fight for her, fight for her.
No.
That's what I got from it.
Well, that's because you don't know. You ain't go see it.
But I ain't going to see it. I'm not going to spend $1 to see it. I'm not going to even watch it.
Diane, there was a deeper meaning. Wait. Maybe there was a deeper meaning in that?
I don't watch that stuff. I don't watch that.
Oh my!
I don't watch stuff like that anymore.
You don't watch Tyler Perry because you're a Tyler Perry hater.
No, that's not true. I'm a big Tyler Perry supporter. I just don't watch that stuff.
No. You know what though? I gotta tell you, I thought Felicia Rashad was amazing.
I love her.
Right?
Always. Love her.
And there was a twist in it that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was laid back in my couch, Kev. You know, you slouch back and you think you know what's getting ready to happen next. And all of a sudden, something else happened. I had to sit up, man. I had to rewind. I said, "Oh shoot!"
You want me to watch it, Diane? I'm
telling you, it's different.
It's different.
You know what we do, Diane? I'm gonna watch it.
It's different.
I was watching a documentary on pandemic. saw a pandemic yesterday.
So anyway, and the reason why I asked you, Kevin, is because many people have been on Facebook and they've been going back and forth. So there's a whole bunch of people that liked it, and then there's a whole bunch of people that picked it apart and didn't like it because they picked apart, because he rushed and did the movie in 5 days. So they complained about that. They picked apart that there were some things, that editing issues that they picked out, that they, complained about that. And then they said, oh, it's the typical Tyler Perry movie. Not a typical Tyler Perry movie.
No, it wasn't.
Then there's another blog YouTube page that I was listening to, and a girl was talking about, and she wrote an article, and she was talking about how he always downgrades black women, put us in these bad situations, always has to have this religious twist to it to bring us up out of it.
Now, I will agree to that. I never see Tyler Perry. Let's go through the movies where you have men in those situations. I don't see him. I see it's all women. And I'm not criticizing it yet. I'm simply saying I observe that it is women. So whether you talk about, what was the Angry Black Women? What was the one he did, the Angry Black, which I thought was a great movie too.
Angry Black. Well, maybe he's speaking from his experiences.
Kevin, did you see that one? Kevin, did you see the Angry Black Woman?
No, I don't watch his.
Kevin, that woman, she was vicious. Well, she was vicious in the beginning, and then
Eric, let me just say something.
She redeemed herself in the end, but in the beginning.
Eric, what's your favorite Tyler Perry movie? Do you have one?
Now, see, I wouldn't say favorite Tyler Perry movie. Those don't go together. I've watched them.
Okay, one that you could watch over and over again.
I could watch The Angry Black Woman.
Oh, okay.
Kevin, wait. Diane, before you go, could I say there's a scene in that movie that I just love? Well, there are two scenes.
Wait a minute. Is it the one when she got him chained up in the living room?
It's the diary of the mad.
Oh, Diary of the Mad Black Woman, right? The one is when she shoves the plate across the table at him, right?
Yes.
And he's just so pitiful because he's like a quadriplegic in a wheelchair, and he's like blah 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 blah, and then she starts making fun of the fact that dude can't even eat his own food. But the other scene in there that I loved, and he deserved it based on how he treated her, was when she put him in the bathtub, Diane.
Just dumped him.
Dumped him in the bathtub, Kevin, and he's sinking down, right? So the water's like up to here, and then she's sitting at the edge of the tub just smoking a cigarette.
Now you see, that's why I'm not watching. I'm not watching. I'm not interested in that, but I like him a lot, though. I'm not interested in this movie.
Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
And my favorite is Why Did I Get Married? I must have watched that show every time it comes on TV at least 20 times.
Who's in that movie?
Janet Jackson is.
Oh, I remember that movie. Yeah.
Jill Scott is in it. I forget who else is in it, but yeah.
Diane, is it a Tyler Perry movie? Who did the one with the and I don't even remember, but there was a heavy-set woman in there, and her husband cheated on her, abused her. Then they got divorced, and then she wound up dating a cop, and they wound up getting married, and then he wanted to be back with her, and they had gone. Maybe I'm back.
The thing that I find interesting about Tyler Perry, and I like him a lot, is that I think he's pushing these things out very quickly, and they don't have a lot of structure for me. They're just good entertainment. So I appreciate him. I think
that is what movies are, is entertainment.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though. I don't see that as a form. He's just, it's like a can of tuna fish. You open it up, it smells like tuna fish. All of this stuff is the same to me. It's like Spike Lee when he did Malcolm X.
Is it Bumblebee or Chicken of the Sea tuna fish?
No, I'm not going to even tell you the tuna fish I eat because people are going to think it's too elitist. So I'm not going to tell you.
Get your nose out the air, Kevin.
My nose is not in the air. What are you talking about, Diane? But no, seriously though, I think Tyler Perry is a brilliant.
And he writes, directs, and produces all his own movies.
I think he's doing a great job.
Listen, I think where he came from, sleeping in his car, to where he is now, is a great story.
I think he's a great human being. I really do. I'm not saying that, I don't respect him. I respect him. I just want to go watch his movies.
Bad boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
I thought that was a very interesting movie. Look at Eric is crazy. But no, I just watched the Netflix movie Messiah. I thought that was great. That's the kind of stuff I like.
Oh boy.
Yeah, go see Bad Boys 2.
I'm gonna see Bad
you know
Boys
what?
2 now.
I'm gonna because I think it's on demand now. Harriet. No, Harriet. Harriet. So I'm gonna finally watch Harriet.
Oh yeah, Harriet is.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go to the movie.
It's for sale. It ain't free.
I'm never watching that ever.
Oh no. I don't want to see it until it's for free. I'm not gonna pay for it. I want to see it for free. I'm not gonna give my money.
So it's for sale now. It's not free.
No, I'm not. Nope, I'm not paying for it. But
Diane, let me ask you a question. I mean, you're our pop person. What is the biggest pop story right now in this country? What's the biggest?
I just told you, Wendy Williams' divorce is final. Between
that was the biggest pop story.
Between that and Meghan Markle moving and her husband.
I love that girl.
I mean, really.
I'm in love with that girl. That
I don't know why.
I love her. Listen, she has really lived a heck of an experience to get to where she is.
Oh my God!
I mean, really,
nobody else ain't done. Boy,
she is really a dynamic young lady. I really appreciate her. I really do. And she's a very tasteful young lady.
I ain't buying it.
So that is the biggest story in the country now. That's a big story. That's
my go-to when we tired of hearing politics and we need a break from being politically killed.
But I like your pop stuff. I love your pop stuff actually.
Did you see the article I sent you about Mike Tyson? He did a podcast with T.I. T.I. has this podcast. He has various people come on, and he was talking about his experience as a boxer and wondering, asking himself why his daughters don't date black men. And he says he believes it's because he set a bad example for them as to being a black man because he was so aggressive and and some of the situations he had fell into, as well as just his career and his livelihood.
That was a personal statement for him, right?
Yeah, that was his personal statement.
So he's saying that his kids are dating white people because he was a bad example as a black man. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He believes he was a bad example.
But he's saying his kids. Not everybody.
What right? Don't you understand?
No, but you have to understand what he's saying, though.
He's talking about his daughters. Why they don't date black men, and he believes it's because he was a bad representation of what a good black man should be.
That makes sense.
That was his thought.
I'm not going to argue with that. That's why I asked you, was that his thoughts about his personal life? About his personal life.
Yeah.
About his personal life. But he ain't speaking for everything.
That's that bus stuff. You be on that bus.
Well, listen, guys.
I want you to give me clarity. Who is he talking about, himself?
I think everybody heard me but you.
No. Because when I saw that story, people can articulate, kind of think that it represents why some black girls date white men. That's not always the case in his case. He's saying in his case that's the case.
The title of the article says Mike Tyson thinks he, in quotes, he didn't set a good example for black men.
No, but I'm saying how some people.
Oh my God! Okay.
That's right. I'm going to stay right here with this. I'm not leaving. But just put up the damn thing, Willie Lynch papers.
Okay, fine. Oh, after 6 o'clock. I can't with you, thank God. You can roll the window back up on your bus and go home, Kevin.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hit the share button.
I love you, Diane. That's my girl.
Make sure you get the book.